Here's a quick little video of basically what I've been dealing with trying to import separate STLs into Sintratec kit software, Sintratec Central. So when I pick this thing, I can choose to drop in a bunch of files, and I've separated all of my STLs. So here's a bunch of STLs that I made, and I've already oriented them exactly where I want them to be in Maya, but when you bring them into the software, it just dumps them wherever. Like, this is not going to help. Now, they do give you a little tool here. Let me click one of them so you can see. The tool here is reset part to STL coordinates. So if you click on this, it's going to move it to exactly where you had it in your 3D space, in your 3D modeler. However, I had to write a plugin to do this because the orientations were not right. Basically, it came down to the Y roll or the Z roll and the Z coordinates were off, and I had to write like a little pre-processing script to orient everything the wrong way in Maya so that when it exports into Sintratec Central, it orients in the right direction. So like I'll put this one here, I'll put this one here. You see how they sort of fit together now? Because I had modeled them so that they fit together. They're not interlocking, but they're pretty close. And that's the way it should be. But obviously, when you dump it into Sintratec Central, it just puts it wherever. So you got to go through here, and this is the part that I don't like is, okay, so if you press Control A, you can select all of these items, and guess what? No, you can't use the origin tool or the STL coordinate reset tool, which would be really handy right now. This is not what I want to print. I want to print a bunch more stuff. So, having seven, like going through here one at a time, isn't the worst thing if you got 12 STLs. But I plan to have dozens of these things, hundreds. If I was making chainmail, this is not viable sitting here. And this is exactly what my 3D model looks like. Once you get all of them together, then you can just use the little drag tool and dump it in, dump it in the actual space. And then there's also a little feature in the upper left here that lets you do orthogonal view. So you can make sure that everything is properly aligned. Oh, you want to use Control A to select everything there. And then that way you can get it right centered in there. As you can see, I'm putting a wide margin on here. I'm still calibrating. My corners, when I make my test models basically now, I go in 1.5 centimeters and then I also clip the corners. I could go further, but I want to get acclimated and get my machine tuned a little bit more because the corners really don't like to print. The far corners don't like to print at all. But these edges do print, but I'm just going to play it safe on this particular print and go another 0.5 centimeter in on the margins. So yeah, that's my latest thing I've been dealing with is I wish this tool here, this reset coordinates, worked on all objects so I could just do a one click. When I start working on mega sized STL files that have lots of STLs, I'll use my custom mail exporter that I just made and then export them as separate STLs, and I can drag them in really quick, but you can't orient them quickly. So it's going to be a long process of click one, reset, click one, reset, click one, reset, click one, reset, which is just ridiculous. If anything, there really shouldn't be, it shouldn't drop in automatically anyway. That should just be like a feature that Sintratec Central has. Like you dump them in and then you click this button that orients it. It should always just bring it in at the world space coordinates that you've designed it at. That would make the most sense. But anyway, if I can figure out the logic on how they dump in their stuff, then I can even pre-process that Mel script so that it does the reverse of whatever their dumb algorithm is, and then basically puts it in the right way. But until I figure that out, I'm just gonna stick with what I got. And then the other thing I'm gonna work on is there's I'm making a plugin in Mel. I'll probably make a plugin in CATIA, Rhino as well that can just export the STEC file. So like once this is done, which this is one's like done for my testing here, but You go to save print job up here on the upper left, and then it will save a STEC file, which will save this orientation, and then you won't have to do it again. So at least you got that. However, the STEC file is just a compressed file, and it stores the STL and a little script file in there. In addition, it saves a tiny little encrypted file. So if I can figure out the encryption, then what I can do is just update my ML exporter to just export an STEC file, which is ideally, that's what I want to do with this thing. So I don't even have to do any work in here. The STEC file just opens and everything is oriented properly. I assume that the encrypted file just has this information, the X, Y, Z information, the pitch, yaw, and roll, and the scaling information just saved with each STL, and then there's just a link to the models that are stored in the STEC file. It's just a compressed STL file is what it is. It's literally a duplicate. So if I can get that, then it would be really great. I could just open the STEC file that is exported right straight from my application, and then I'll try to make that public if I can make it reliable enough, then I'll put it online as well. Anyway, that's my latest problem. Check out the website for more Sintratec kit stuff that I've been working on, test prints, calibration, assembly, any of these neat little tricks and tips that I'm working on. Yeah, just check it out. The link will be below.